Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to be going over tier 1 electricity for Rust. So this is the main component section for electricity for the tier 1 workbench. So these are the 26 items we're going to be covering in this video. So let's get straight into it. Alright, first we have the switch. It's just a typical switch that you would find in your house to turn on and off the lights. Next is a small battery. This is what's going to be providing power to all your devices around your base. Next is the solar panel. The solar panel is going to be harnessing the power of the sun to provide electricity to the small battery, to provide electricity to your devices around your base. Next is the splitter. The splitter is going to take one source of power and divide it into 3 separate channels for power. Okay. Next is the electrical branch. This is going to take one single line of power and turn it into 2 lines of power. You can also restrict one of the lines to have a certain amount of power and then send the rest straight to the main line. The audio alarm is going to blare an audio sound whenever provided power. The telephone is obviously a telephone. You can call your mom, your brother, your sister, your cousin down the way and they'll pick up the phone, hopefully. Next is the root combiner. What the root combiner does is take 2 sources of power, puts them into one, and sends it to one line. So you can combine multiple sources of power into one. Next is the blocker. The blocker sends power straight to a device that you want to power, but you can also send power into the blocker to prevent that source from being powered. So we'll take a light as an example. If I want to power the light, it will be powered on. But if I want to send power into the side of the blocker, it will prevent that light from getting power. Next is the OR switch. So for this, you have A and B power. If A power is powering the switch, it will send power to whatever it's powering. If B sends power into the switch, it will power whatever needs to be powered, no matter what. So it can either be A or B. And if you want, it could be both of them at the same time. It doesn't matter. Next is XOR switch. For this one, you can have either A or B power the source that you want to be powered. But if both of them are turned off, it's not going to power anything, obviously. But if both of them are turned on, it's not going to power anything at all. So it's either A power it or B power it, not both of them like the OR switch. Next is the ceiling light. This is just a basic household light that you can turn on and off to light your way. Next is the timer. The timer is obviously what it says. It's a timer. So if you want power to a certain device for a certain amount of time, you can set the timer that. So if I want my door to be open for 10 seconds, I will set the timer to 10 seconds. And when I flick the switch, it will go on a 10-second timer and the door will stay open for 10 seconds. Next is the door controller. The door controller, hence the name, it controls your door. You put this next to the door you want it to control, power goes into it, it will open the door. When power is not going through it, the door closes. Igniter. Well, you guessed it, it's going to ignite something. So let's say you have fireworks or something that you want to ignite. You send power into the igniter, it's going to light that thing up, and that's it. Next is storage adapter. What this device does is allow input and output of the storage box. So you can either send items into the box or out of the box. Next is industrial conveyor. What this item does, it specifically moves the item. It provides suction to take the items out of the storage container and send them to another one. If you do not have this, your items cannot transfer. This is the heart of the operation. Next is industrial splitter. What industrial splitter does, it takes one source and splits it into 3. So if you have one box that you want to take items out and distribute it to 3 different boxes, this is what it's for. Industrial combiner. What this does, it takes 3 sources and puts them into one. So let's say you have 3 furnaces that are producing ore and you want them to go into one box. You will take this, hook the 3 furnaces up to it and send it to one box. Next is the metal detector. The metal detector is specifically for finding stuff underground. Ideally, you're really not going to use this if you want to go be a bum on the beach go ahead. Other than that, you're really not going to be using this. Flasher light. Hence the name, it's going to be flashing. When this light receives power, it's going to be flashing blue. Siren light. Almost the exact same thing as the flasher light. It's just a red siren light. Almost like an ambulance or a fire truck. Electrical heater. Hence the name, it's a heater. If you're living out in the snow and you want to keep your chaps warm, you're going to want this device. You're going to put power into it, it's going to turn on, and it's going to make you nice and toasty. Next is the pressure pad. This device specifically provides power to a device when standing on it. Once you step off of it, it stops providing power to that device. So you can use this to open doors or turn on a light temporarily or do whatever you want with it, honestly. Next is the button, the close relative to the pressure pad. When you press it, it provides power to the device that you want to power. Once it unpresses, then it stops providing power to that device. Next is reactive target. If you want to practice long range shots or just shooting in general, you're going to want this bad boy. You're going to place them down range, you're going to shoot at them. When you provide power to it, it will specifically raise itself back up so you don't have to worry about running down range and resetting it yourself. All right, guys, those are the 26 electrical component items that we're going to be covering for tier 1. Now I'm going to show you a demonstration of all these items. So let's get straight into it. All right, here is our demonstration. Here is the metal detector. Like I said, we're not going to be using this at all. What you're going to do is take the metal detector in hand. You are going to right click with it and you're going to walk around the ground scanning the area for anything that's metal. If you find something, it will beep. If you don't find anything, it's not going to beep. It's just a typical metal detector that you all know and love. You probably never used it either. So that is that. All right, here are the solar panels in action. The solar panels are hooked up to one battery specific here. You don't have to do that, but I'm just showing you an example. So we have 3 solar panels, one hooked up to each battery here. Now I'm going to show you how the root combiner works. Like I said, the root combiner takes 2 sources of power and turns it into one. So we've hooked up these 2 solar panels to the bottom here, which turns 2 power sources into one. So we're going to take this power source, put it into the bottom here, and we're going to take this 3rd solar panel and hook it in. So we have all 3 of the solar panels hooked up to one power source, and we're bringing the line down straight into this battery. So now the battery is being charged by 3 solar panels instead of 1 solar panel per battery. All right, just a side note, guys, that these solar panels here produce 20 watts of power, depending on how strong light is. If it's midday, it's going to be 20 watts. If the sun is going down, it's not going to be 20 watts of power. These small batteries can hold a capacity of 400 watts. The max output the batteries can put out at one time is 15. And it also tells you the active usage and the current charge left. So it will do the math for you. If power is being put out, it will tell you how much life you have in the batteries for the time, the active usage. And remember, you can only have 15 watts of power being sent out at once. So just a rule of thumb, majority of the small items like lights and switches will take 1 power, but also keep in mind that I'm pretty sure in the new update, they made it so where switches and branches do not take 1 power source anymore. I'm not completely 100% sure on that. But in my testing, the switches haven't really taken any power. It's obviously just main things like lights, audio devices, phones, igniters, and stuff like that. If you need help, there's plenty of other videos out there, or maybe you can ask me in the comments and I can hopefully make it better for you guys to understand. But just keep in mind that right now, this is the basic tutorial. I will be going over tier 2 electricity later on, which gets a little bit more complicated. But if you want to power your base with the small batteries, you're going to need several of these because these things will run out pretty quick. Next is the switch here. The light is turned on because the switch is on. Click the switch, the light is off. Just a typical household light switch that you all know and love. Next is the phone here. If you want to make a phone call, you just interact with it. You can type in your boyfriend's number or your girlfriend. Just depends on what you're going for. You can have your contact list here, the directory for standard numbers that you can call around the map. You can also leave a voicemail for your lover if you want to. All right, next up is the audio alarm along with the 2 flashing lights here. We have all 3 of these items hooked up to one switch just to show you guys that you don't need to have one device hooked up to one switch. These are being paralleled with each other through the pass-through feature. So almost every item has an input and a pass-through. So you can just hook up the power to the switch, hook up the switch up to one item, and then pass through the power to the next item and to the next. So when we flick on the switch, it's going to activate all 3 of them. So that's the siren, this is the blue flashing light, and that's the audio alarm. Fairly typical standard lights and alarm. Next, we're going to be going over the blocker here along with the branch. So this is the electrical branch where you can branch off power to another device here. So the battery is being charged by solar panels, which the power is going into the branch, and the line that's going straight through is the main line. So the main line is going up, but we're branching off power to the switch to provide the switch with power. And what the blocker does is if I provide power to the blocker, the main line gets cut off. So right now the light is being powered continuously. Let's say I power the switch, which provides power to the blocker. The light turns off. It's basically the same thing as the switch over there, just slightly more complicated. This is not the only use for the blocker. This is just a standard example to not get anybody confused. So once I stop providing power to the blocker, it will continue sending power through. Perfect. All right, next we are going to combine 3 items into one. We have the pressure plate, we have the door controller, and we have the igniter. So when I step on the pressure plate, it's going to provide power to the door controller, which is linked to the door, which is going to open the door. I also have an additional power source coming from a battery into the pressure plate, which is going to also send power to the igniter to ignite. So as long as I stand on the pressure plate, the igniter will go off and the door will stay open. As soon as I leave, the door will close and the igniter will turn off. This leads us to the next category here of the heater. So like I mentioned, if you want to stay warm, this is the device for you. So I'll break this down here where we have 4 solar panels, 2 solar panels hooked up to one combiner, 2 hooked up to the other. Both combiners are going into one and they're all feeding into this battery. Okay. Now we have the battery going to a branch. The branch is sending power to the splitter here. The splitter, like I mentioned before, has 3 output devices on the bottom, so you can hook up 3 separate lines or do whatever you want with the power. The power gets split up evenly. So let's say you have 75 watts worth of power coming into the splitter. It will get broken up evenly into 25, 25, and 25. So this heater will get 25. This heater will get 25. And if you want to add additional heater or something else, it will send out 25 watts of power. So the splitter evenly distributes the power on the bottom here, no matter how much is getting sent in. So now we go back over to the branch here. The branch is sending power from the battery to this switch. And what this switch is doing is going to provide power to those 3 lights over there. So we're having these heaters continuously powered through the branch that's going to the splitter to split power between 3 devices or however many you want to hook up. And then we have the rest of the power going to the switch to the lights. Next, we are going to go over the button and the target. So let's take our weapon here. We have our target nice and juicy out there. We're going to lay down some hellfire on him and see what happens. Bam. Our target's dead. We want to reset him. Click the button. It's back up. And we can lay down some more lead. Can keep practicing all we want. Keep in mind, you do have to wait till the button depresses in order to reset it. If not, you'll just have to wait a little bit. All right, now we're going over the timer. The timer is set to 5 seconds. Once I flick the switch, it will provide power to the door controller for 5 seconds. Once the 5 seconds is over, it will stop providing power to the controller and the door will close. So we'll demonstrate that now. All right, perfect demonstration. Next, we're going to be going over the storage adapter and the industrial conveyor. Like I said, the storage adapter allows you to have input and output of anything inside the box, and the storage conveyor conveyors items from one location to the next. If you do not have this, it will not transfer items. So in this situation, we have charcoal and ammo inside this box. And we also have charcoal and low grade in this box. You can specifically set these industrial conveyors to convey any item you want out of these boxes. You can either have it set one item or multiple. You just have to add. You can do up to 12 slots here. But like I said, I only have charcoal going in and out of the boxes. So charcoal is being removed from this box, getting sent over to the box on the right, and vice versa. The charcoal is going back from this box up here, down into here, and it's not touching my ammo, and it's not touching my low grade. Everything's staying the same except the charcoal. All right, next we're going over the industrial conveyor. This takes 3 inputs and turns them into 1 output. So I'm demonstrating 2 boxes getting inputted and getting sent into this middle box here by the industrial conveyor. And we're also going to be demonstrating the industrial splitter. So once the items go into this middle box, they're going to get sucked out and sent into these 2 boxes. If we had a 3rd box, we would just use the middle line. But for this demonstration, I'm only using 2 boxes. So I'm going to come over here and dump my C4 into this bottom box. And it's getting transferred out. I'm going to dump my explosives in the top box and it's going to get sucked out. So these conveyors do not have any specific item. It's just taking anything out of those boxes, putting them in the middle. And this one's taking anything out of the middle, putting them over here. Now, since we have 2 boxes, I don't have it specifically sent anywhere. So it's just going to divvy it up evenly between the 2 boxes. So if we come over here, we see that it's going to be 50-50 because it's not being sorted properly. And lastly, we're going to be going over the XOR switch and the OR switch. So like I stated previously, the XOR switch takes in 2 sources of power and either picks A to send power to the device or B to send power to the device. If you have both being powered, it's not going to power the device. So as demonstrated here, both switches are on. That's why you can see both lights are green here and the top light is red, not providing power to the door. If I turn off one of the switches, it will provide power to the door and the door will open. If I turn both off, it will obviously not provide power. So I can either activate the one on the left, turn that one, activate the one on the right. So it doesn't matter what switch I hit as long as one of them is turned off. If both of them are turned on, then it will not provide power to the door controller to open the door. All right, next is the OR switch. So it either takes A or B to power the door here. So B is the pressure plate. If I stand on the pressure plate, it provides power and it opens the door. Or I can flick the switch and the switch will open the door. See? If I step on both, it doesn't really matter. If they're both being powered, it really doesn't matter because it's not going to do anything. It's either A or B will open the door. And that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed. I spent a little while making this setup. No, it's not the best setup. It's just a brief explanation for those of you guys who need to understand how the power works. This is just a basic tutorial. I'm not a professional at the power in Rust. This is why I'm making this video, for me to have a better understanding and for you to have a better understanding as well. But as always, I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.